Good morning. Today's video is history taking in a patient presenting with fever with or without chills and rigors. So this approach is in internal medicine posting. A patient presenting with fever can be very non-specific. He can have many non-specific associated symptoms, and it can be a cause of a disease itself, or it can occur as a part of any other conditions as negligible as inflammation or infections or anything. So this is the approach for history taking. So the first step for history taking in a patient presenting with fever is think of the differential diagnosis. So your history of the presenting illness will be more based on ruling out each of the causes in the differential diagnosis. So let's look at some of the most common causes which can present with fever. So these are the main differentials. I have listed it here while I was discussing with my classmates. So it's like first thing is all the infectious conditions. Mainly if your region is something which is endemic with these diseases, especially like malaria, dengue, leptospirosis and other infections or systems like UTI, RTI or cellulitis or sepsis or even sexually transmitted diseases like HIV or other things, So you have it in your head, and when you ask the question, you need to rule out the signs and symptoms in each of these diseases. That's how the history of presenting illness goes. So in respiratory, the main thing what I see in the wards of my hospital is pneumonia and pulmonary tuberculosis. In central nervous system, mostly meningitis, meningoencephalitis, and GIT, you can just rule out cholangitis or any other inflammatory conditions as well. So let's focus on the case itself. So the chief complaint of my patient was fever. So while presenting the case, you need to ask with or without chills and rigors. The patient might not directly tell you about it. So these are the things you need to ask about the fever itself. So which is onset. First thing is onset. You need to ask if the patient had the fever suddenly or of gradual onset. Like first initially the fever was less and then it got worsened like that. Then the duration as how long the fever. For the duration, first thing you need to ask is when did the fever start first. So you calculate the number of days after that. And then you must ask if the patient had the fever as low grade or high grade fever. This is possible to assess only if the patient has measured his temperature previously at home. So based on that you can decide if it is low grade or high grade. Apart from that, you can ask loss of weight or loss of appetite associated with fever, since fever, loss of weight and loss of appetite are constitutional symptoms for other diseases as well. Other thing is night sweats you can ask, which is also like called nocturnal hyperhidrosis, but make sure you don't use the jargon while asking the patient. Ask for night sweats. This can even rule out pulmonary tuberculosis. Check out if there is any specific pattern for this particular fever. Like as we know, like malaria has fever once in 3 days, once in 4 days. So you must ask the pattern of the fever, as well as while asking the pattern, you even ask if the fever was, intermittent or consistent. Constantly there or intermittently there as well. Then aggravating and relieving factors, like what did the patient do to make the fever get better. Most of the patients, take over-the-counter drugs like antipyretics, Panadol, paracetamol, all that. But my particular patient, he said the fever worsened after he took Panadol. So don't assume that a medication is always going to relieve your symptoms. Sometimes it can worsen as well. So coming to the history of presenting illness, after you ask these things about the pattern of fever, you need to rule out our differentials. The main focus of doing the history of presenting illness is like diagnosing as what's the cause. However, it might not be possible to reach a provisional diagnosis and tell this is the thing unless you do the investigations. But in order to guide your investigations to the right direction and not do all the investigations, you need to know what investigations to do. So in my case, the onset of the fever was sudden, and it was for 3 days. You write it like this, like out of number of days in a week, and then you ask for all the associated symptoms that the patient had and list them in the chronological order. For example, my patient had headache for 3 days, dizziness, body weakness, and abdominal pain with diarrhea for 1 day after that. So write in the chronological order, and later you will relate to the questions what you asked to rule out the differential diagnosis which we just spoke about. So the first thing, since my patient said headache and dizziness, I would like to start from CNS, which is other symptoms you can ask is headache, dizziness, neck pain or neck stiffness, and photophobia. These things are for ruling out the meningitis. Other than that, you can ask for blurring of vision, speech difficulties, body weakness, which he said is there, and then loss of confusion and altered consciousness. So all these CNS symptoms you asked to rule out the CNS infections which I told about, meningitis and meningoencephalitis. Other things are rashes. Since we spoke about the infectious diseases, we rule out papular rashes, high-grade fever, retroorbital pain, bleeding tendencies as well. So you ask for any bleeding of the gums or any other bleeding tendencies, any rashes, any pain. So to rule out dengue fever, as well as the travel history is very important for dengue fever. It can be in a endemic area or entry towards the forest or something. And then apart from that, you look for jaundice because most of the infections can affect the liver and cause hepatomegaly as well as the jaundice, which is yellow discoloration of the skin and the mucous membranes. So you can ask the patient if he noticed any yellow discoloration of the skin or the mucous membranes, or if his urine was dark yellow or tea colored. Did he notice any itchiness on his body to rule out jaundice? So apart from that, next thing was leptospirosis. So we asked all the signs and symptoms of leptospirosis like calf pain, redness of the eyes, any diarrhea, any photophobia, or you can even ask whether there is a history of river swimming or jungle trekking. In a place where I am doing my medical clinical phase, this place is really endemic for leptospirosis. So it even depends upon the epidemiology of your particular practicing place. So next thing is all the infections you rule out like UTI, RTI and STI. So for urinary tract infection, you ask all the symptoms like frequency, urgency, burning or painful micturition, hematuria, suprapubic pain, or any frothy urine that can indicate proteinuria. So all these symptoms to rule out the urinary tract infections. Then respiratory tract infections can be ruled out by asking cough with sputum. If there is cough, you ask about the frequency, whether it is associated with any pleuritic chest pain, whether there is any presence of sputum. So if the patient is telling the sputum is present, then you ask about the quantity, how much, whether every time when they cough the sputum comes out, whether there was any foul smelling, whether there were any streaks of blood in the sputum. So all these details about the sputum you need to ask in order to get an idea about what sort of respiratory infection it could be. For example, for pneumonia it could be white or rusty sputum. So you need to know as what sputum color indicates what respiratory tract infection as well. Apart from that, it might be associated with shortness of breath. And for pulmonary tuberculosis, you need to ask for any infective tuberculosis contact as well. If they were in close contact with anyone who had the specific respiratory tract infection. Then you can ask about sexually transmitted infections, but make sure you're building a proper rapport, and make sure you tell them you're going to ask some sensitive questions regarding their lifestyle and all that. So ask for any discharge from the genitalia. Ask if there is any high risk behavior such as unprotected sex or any activity with so many partners and all that. So to rule out HIV, Hep B, Hep C and all that. Then other than that, you can ask for GIT problems, like you begin with the bowel habit. So when you ask about the bowel habit, the first thing you do is you must ask about the normal bowel habit of the patient itself, and then whether there is any altered bowel habit in terms of consistency, whether it is like diarrhea or the patient is constipated, or ask about the frequency, like in diarrhea there will be too many episodes which can result in dehydration as well, so we need to monitor the fluid electrolytes later. Ask about the color and ask whether there is any blood. For example, if it is a black stool, you can ask further to find out if it is because of hematinics or if it is melena, whether if it is foul smelling, tarry, sticky in nature. If there is blood as well, you need to ask about the nature of the blood, like whether it was surrounding the stool or there were streaks or whether there was fresh blood. So ask those details, and then ask about the smell if it was foul smelling. Then ask about the nature of defecation, like whether it was explosive or whether it was purging, to have a clue about what it could be due to. So, and then apart from that, some of the basic things which you ask is abdominal pain, nausea and vomiting. So my patient, he has abdominal pain with diarrhea, which was for like 2 episodes just for 1 day, which is today. And then apart from this, the CNS symptoms like headache, dizziness, red eyes, diarrhea. Basically whatever I have circled is positive in my patient. So based on this, I feel it is less likely to be CNS infection like meningitis or meningoencephalitis, as he does not have any neck stiffness or photophobia and all that. It is less likely to be a GI cause as well, because diarrhea is very non-specific. He did not mention about any very significant changes. It's just normal diarrhea and it just started started today, so it might not be very related to the fever itself. And then apart from that, he told about dizziness, headache and weakness. So these are also quite non-specific. So based on the diarrhea, red eyes and the fact that we live in an endemic place called leptospirosis, the first thing I would tell my provisional diagnosis as leptospirosis. So further, of course, I have to further order the investigations in order to find it out. Apart from that, my differential diagnosis for this particular patient would be malaria and dengue. Also because dengue is also endemic in my place, as well as malaria is also quite popular because of the mosquitoes and all that. It's less likely to be other infectious causes like UTI, RTI, cellulitis or sepsis or even HIV from the history I took from my particular patient. Even he did not have any respiratory history as well. So one thing is, after my history taking, I already have an idea about it should be leptospirosis, and I will do my physical examination of the abdomen. So from what I did to my patient, I couldn't find any positive findings. It was just the fever and his eyes were a bit bloodshot sort of. So my next thing is we would discuss about investigations and do the further investigations to rule out leptospirosis. So I hope this helped. This is basically how you approach the fever itself, because it's quite non-specific symptom and it could be due to anything at all. So it's better to go in a systemic order in order to rule out the diseases, in order to reach a provisional diagnosis and further proceed with the management of the patient. Thank you.